This isn't just about qualifications. It's not just about a certificate or a bit of paper. As Moontree Gael Scoil, it's about responsibility, it's about culture, and it's about continuity. Let me just say, enjoy today, because from as soon as you start your teaching career, you'll realise that some of the greatest challenges in teaching aren't book scoops or classroom observations or planning or dealing with upset parents. You'll realise that it's trying to be in the front of the queue to the photocopier at 8:30 on a Monday morning, only to realise that it's broken by 8:35. But listen, if you can survive teacher training and you can survive photocopier wars, you can survive anything. It's one shift. For our newly qualified primary teachers, one of the hardest tasks you'll face is when you're in front of a class of 30 quasi and one of them discovers a spider in the corner of the room. Caoimhin, language, and the room erupts into absolute chaos. For our post-primary teachers, I'll tell you a story about a very good friend of mine. He teaches in a school not too far from here, and I won't say his name in case you recognise him, but his wife had just had a baby, and he was up all night with the baby and he was exhausted. And he had a class before lunch and after lunch, or a class before break and after break in the same room. So he taught the class and he says, I can't even be annoyed get down to the staff room here. I'm just going to sit where I am. And next thing he nodded off and he fell asleep. And he says, he woke up with a crowd of year 10 pupils around him saying, "Oh sir, are you dead?" So, they say that the first year of teaching goes by in a blur. It really does. But it's not because of the fast pace of it. It's because of the sleep deprivation and the amount of caffeine in your system. So my advice to you would be get a good travel mug, and it keeps your coffee warm up until at least I'm sussing. So on a more serious note, I would like to speak about Arjanga. There was a time in this island when Irish was the heartbeat of the island. It was the language of law, of poetry, of storytelling and everyday life. It shaped identity and how people understood themselves and their place in this world. But history brought immense hardship. Under the penal laws of the 17th and 18th centuries, Irish life, faith, education were systematically and deliberately suppressed. These laws didn't just regulate society, they sought to dismantle identity. Catholics weren't able to access proper education. They were excluded from power. They were restricted in worship. The Irish language was so closely tied to that identity and culture, it was pushed to the margins as English dominated. Yet, even under the weight of the penal laws, the Irish language didn't disappear. We remember how priests, outlawed from openly practicing their faith, said mass at mass rocks, hidden in hillsides and glens. Families gathered in silence and secrecy, risking punishment simply to say their prayers. And in those sacred moments, Irish lived on. In the prayers, in the spoken word, and in quiet resilience. At the same time, the penal laws gave rise to head schools, which were illegal, informal centres of learning. Teachers defied the authorities to educate children in fields, in barns, and in quiet places of refuge. And there, despite everything designed to suppress the Irish language, it continued to be spoken, it continued to be shared, it continued to be passed on. Didn't stop there, gets worse. The development of a formal education system that excluded the Irish language and often punished its use. And ultimately, the devastating catastrophe of the Great Hunger. The Irish-speaking regions suffered the most. Entire communities were lost through death and emigration, and with them went generations of language, culture and memory. By the late 19th century, the Irish language stood on the brink of disappearance. And yet, it endured. It endured because people refused to let it die. People like you sitting here in front of us today. The Gaelic revival reignited pride in Arjanga. Organisations like Conradh na Gaeilge played a central role in restoring belief in the language, encouraging its use in everyday life and ensuring that it was not seen as something lost, but as something worth reclaiming. Ordinary people became extraordinary custodians of the language. Irish was spoken, it was taught, it was written, but most importantly it was revived. Here in the north, that resilience found powerful expression. Organisations like Commencement, just around the corner, I'm sure many of us have been for a pint, it played a vital role in bringing Irish back into urban life, creating spaces where the language could thrive again and restoring confidence in its use. Then came, I would say, the most inspiring grassroots movement of all, Gaeltacht Fuiseoige, the Shaw's Road Gaeltacht. In the late 1960s, a group of visionary families made a bold decision. They would raise their children through Irish in the heart of an English-speaking city. They didn't wait for permission, they didn't wait for support, but they built something extraordinary, brick by brick, house by house, community by community. We all know their motto, Na Habere Johnny, don't say it, do it. From that courage came the founding of Scoil Fuiseoige, the first Irish medium school in Belfast. It started off with a handful of children, and it's become a movement that has transformed education and identity. It proved that Irish was not a relic of the past, but a vibrant language of the future. I also would be remiss of me not to give a shout out to the lads from Kneecap. Well, you like their music or not, but they're inspiring our younger generation and making our Jenga current in the modern world. Rumours that they're looking for a fourth member, so if anyone's speaking to them, I'm looking at a career change, please put a good word in for me. So, after today, the legacy lasts with you. You people sitting in front of us here are Moontree New Caoimhin. When you teach through Irish, you echo the courage of the head school teachers who defied the penal laws. When you speak Irish in your classroom daily and in your life, you honour those who risked everything, those who gathered at Mass Rocks and kept both faith and language alive in secret. When you inspire children, you walk in the footsteps of those families who started the Shaw's Road Gaeltacht, who believed that language could shape the future. You're no longer preserving something that's fragile, you're building upon something that's strong and vibrant and alive. Now, I'll be honest with you, as inspiring as that legacy is, the road ahead is going to be hard. Teaching today brings some real serious challenges. You will face classrooms where resources are not always sufficient. You'll be asked to do more with less. There's a lot of uncertainty around the curriculum itself, what it's actually going to look like. The Ulach Ibra, the workload, is the heaviest it's ever been. And alongside this, you'll face increasing expectations from parents, expectations that could sometimes feel overwhelming. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you'll meet people like me, grumpy, caffeine-fueled principals. We may look serious most of the time. We may torture you about your planning and your IEPs and your book scoops and whatever else, but behind every grumpy, caffeine-fueled principal is someone who cares deeply about the kids, someone who cares deeply about their staff, and someone who cares about giving our children the best opportunities that they can. You'll meet an increasing number of pupils with a wide range of additional needs, each requiring patience and care and understanding. You'll encounter children that carry unseen struggles, mental health issues, worries beyond their years, and sometimes there'll be challenges even more difficult to face. You may teach children that are coming to school that haven't had breakfast that morning, children who are tired or distracted or withdrawn, not because they don't want to learn, but because the world outside the classroom isn't an easy place for them. You may encounter children experiencing neglect, or even suffering in ways that no children should ever have to endure. And in those moments, you will feel helpless. I know, I've been there. But never underestimate the difference that you guys can make. Never underestimate it. Because for some Paisley, school is the safest place that they know. Your classroom could be the one place where they feel valued, they feel respected, and they feel safe. A kind word, a moment of understanding, a simple act of care can have more impact than any lesson you'll ever plan or teach. It will feel overwhelming, but In those moments, I ask you to remember something simple but powerful. Every child is unique. Every child who walks into your classroom will have their own story, their own strengths, their own challenges. There's no single path to learning, only individual journeys. Teach the child in front of you. The most important thing about teaching is the relationships that you build with the children. I'm sure we can all remember a teacher who impacted us in school, who made us want to be a teacher. So it's all about the relationships. Encourage the children, value them and respect them. And if you remember nothing else from all the rubbish I've spoken, remember this: treat every child as you would want someone to treat your own. Because see, long after the lessons are forgotten and what you've taught them is forgotten, they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's 1,000,000%. They'll remember the teacher who believed in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. And that's a true impact of teaching. As I say, there will be challenges, but there will also be moments of joy that you can't even comprehend yet. When a child understands something for the first time, when they get a higher than expected grade in their test, when they find confidence through music or sport or drama, or simply when they realise that they matter. Those moments will carry you through. It's important that you look after your own well-being as well as teachers. That's one of the most important things. This is a rewarding journey, but your well-being isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You will give your time, your energy and compassion to your students every day, but you can't pour from an empty jug. Protect your own balance, rest, reflect, and learn to switch off and make time for yourself. Seek support and advice from friends, colleagues, peers. Set boundaries, celebrate small successes, and be kind to yourself as you grow. A healthy, supported teacher inspires thriving learners and ensures that you can continue to care effectively for the children in your care. Nearly done, don't worry. So graduates, as you step forward today, remember this: you're more than just teachers. You're the guardians of a language. You're the builders of confidence. You're the carriers of a story that refused to be silenced. You're part of a movement that continues to grow. You're responsible for shaping the future for our kids and our grandkids. May your classrooms be places where the Irish language thrives, where identity is celebrated, and where every child knows that their voice matters and that they're able to reach their full potential. Go near and Boherliv, or Mila Mila Mayagov, I was co-guards of Socree.